Helio guys, and welcome back. And in today's little video we have our newest exotic Sundi, whose capture festival starts next month, not this month. Now with that being said though, regardless if you're a new player or a returning player, make sure you're capturing Truffle and also getting some of that bond action in at the shop, because not only can we get those lovely rewards from the shop here, but with Venus's return, part of the fusion is going to be, capturing bonds, or basically summoning the bonds in capturing the truffles. That's super duper important. Venus, which I mean pretty much Dark Venus, is well worth the effort. If you can pick up Light Venus, you can then basically gleam her up and throw her into Dark Venus, and that's pretty much the only Nat 4 I would ever recommend us ever gleaming up. And with the new introduction of the mini gleams here, hopefully that won't be a problem whatsoever. But let's go ahead and dive into Sundi here, who is some ice cream just over here hanging out. I will say it is a monster. It's not like a little waifu that we have right here like Hana or Wild Thing, etc. So things are looking up here for us. But anyways, let's take a look at Water Sundi, who is an attacker type, coming in with 25k HP, 2.8k attack, and then 2k defense here. This is basically Mona's stats. Obviously it's Water Mona, but without the whole defense down, without Super Evolution stats. Keep in mind, Super Evolution Water Mona will have greater stats, but this mon isn't Super Evo'd. It is a Nat 3. Just keep that in mind here. So stat distribution is fine for a Nat 3, nothing too crazy. And taking a look at the skills here, the 3-star skill is going to be SP Siphon. It does 20% of the enemy's SP. This is great for crowd control, preventing the enemy from getting damage off on your squad, of course. And then for the 5-star skill, it's Elemental Edge. I don't really like Elemental Edge, as stated before. If it's on a Dark Mon, I'll let it slide, but I would prefer Predator. But I don't make the game, I just review the monsters in the game. And it looks like it does indicate that Sundi is also an AoE based mon, which is very important. And with the variant skill 2, its critical boost, it boosts up the critical hit rate of allies. Not super useful for like pretty much any player that hasn't started the game, but if you just started the game, then feel free to use that lead until you get something better here. But let's take a look at the lovely skill books. So SP Siphon receives a 20% damage boost and goes up to 30%. Okay, 30% SP Siphon, Nat 3, okay. Elemental Edge receives a whopping 30% damage increase here too. So this isn't necessarily a wave clear mon, so don't be getting ideas about that. I mean, if you wanted to throw it on a Siphon set, go ahead and do so. It's just a mon over here hanging out. Mona is still just the obviously better choice, but I will be going for this lovely Sundi just for the Astro Guide. And in terms of the whole Nat 3 League, I mean, there is some usage right here with the Elemental Edge providing that extra advantage if you can get some damage off of this bad ice cream cone, I will call it. And the SP Siphon is always nice to have, especially if you lack a crowd control mon because you just started the game. So feel free to pick this one up. Nothing extravagant in the very end, but something is always better than nothing. Following in after that here, we do have Light Sundi, who is a defender type, coming in with 26k HP, nearly 27k, 2.1k attack, and then 3.1k defense. And this is a Nat 4? HP seems kinda interesting. Very interesting. But let's take a look at these skills here. So for the 3-star skill, it has Exposed Weakness, which grants an 80% chance to expose the enemy's weakness for 2 turns. Pretty standard. The rate up there is fine. And then for the 5-star skill, it has Blind, 80% chance for 2 turns once again. So this mon is pretty much just setting up for damage, depending on what type of composition that you have with it. I don't really see this being a big game changer whatsoever. Blind is useful, but it's pretty much only useful for Light Titan if I do recall here. And outside of that, I feel like there's just better choices in general, because you can get Exposed Weakness off of Water Cura, who we're still waiting on a Super Evolution for. And then Blind if you have like a Neza, and they made someone else with Neza's kit but backwards who doesn't come to mind instantly. You can have Blind and Weaken, if I'm recalling correctly, with those mons. So once again, for the Astro Guide, if you want to use it for the Apophis dungeon or whatever because you lack Exposed Weakness mons, I don't see any issue with that, especially if you're a newer player and trying to fill up slots here. But I guess at the end of the day, I don't think this one has much staying power either, which, especially in terms of the whole developer's notes, I basically predicted already. That's the normal MSO fashion. You get a whole bunch of mons. Normally only one is useful, and I don't think we've met the useful one yet. But taking a look at the skill books, Exposed Weakness does receive a 20% damage boost and goes up to 90% for 2 turns. Blind also receives a 20% damage boost, even though it's a defender with 2.1k attack stat, and it looks like it goes up to 90% for 2 turns once again. So books aren't bad, and at the end of the day, even if you don't use this mon, this is perfectly fine for world boss fodder. Build it up to 60, book this bad boy up, and let her rip. And last but not least here, you guys, let's take a look at this lovely Sunday or Sundi together here. We do have the Dark Sundi. So Dark Sundi is an attacker type coming in with 27k HP, decent distribution as an attacker, has more HP than a defender. Not saying that's illegal, but okay, a little bit of weird champ, 3.3k attack stat, 2.5k defense. Your standard, I wouldn't say glass cannon, but your standard attacker. I'm perfectly fine with that. Dark Mons do have that innate higher crit damage, which is always lovely to have here. And let's take a look at these lovely skills. So for the 3-star skill, it's going to be Lethal Strike. And then for the 5-star skill, it's going to be a 30% Predator. I've called it, boys. I've called it. The dark one's it. Dark one's it. Great entry-level astromon basically for everyone. So if you plan on doing the Apophis dungeon in the future, or maybe world boss fodder, this is a great mon to have. Especially if you're a newer player, having access to a dark mon with Lethal Strike and Predator is damn near free. As long as you can capture some, I think this is great. So this is definitely a mon I would recommend everyone pick up. And you may not want to do the Apophis dungeon. Well, what happens when you encounter the lovely defense aggressors in PvP? Go ahead and pop this bad Sundi out, hit him like a butt cheek on a stick, and then life goes on here. So, okay, I'm definitely down with that kit. Can definitely put this mon to use pretty much every single day too, with it being a dark type. And I do recall someone on the Discord had mentioned using a Lethal Striker, Courageous Striker, and maybe like a healer combo or something like that in terms of the dimensional golem dungeons, and that worked perfectly fine for them too. So if your stats are beefy enough and you can keep this mon protected, once again, nice entry-level astromon into something that's actually useful. Cool. And then taking a look at the books here, both Lethal Strike and Predator receive a whopping 20% damage increase. So it is a dark mon, and the stat distribution is nothing spicy, but I'd rather take normal and okay versus downright bad. Like Dark Eve, we're not going to talk about that. So I'm happy with what we got here. Sundi's definitely going to be an astromon. I'm going to go for all 3 of them for the guide, man. I will end up using the dark one probably. The other 2, I'll keep the light one in case, you know, one day they decide to make it better, but they probably won't. Water one is probably going right into the blender after I get it to Evo 3, but it is what it is. But feel free to leave in the comments below about what you guys think about Sundi. Dark one is obviously my favorite, but do you prefer like the light one or do you prefer the water one? We only get 3 elements, so that does make our lives a lot easier in general. Make sure you guys are picking up the truffles and bonds for Venus, and yeah, that's pretty much it. See ya.